presentation of Fox Sports.
We are Fox Sports. We are Arizona.
Big crowd here tonight. A.J. Pollock bobblehead day. The baseballs were flying at Chase Field last night. 3 Pirates batters hit nearly 1,400 feet worth of home runs early in the ball game before a late D-backs rally came up only 90 feet short. We are back at it tonight with the roof expected to open up about 1 hour into game time. And we're glad you're with us. All set for D-backs baseball on Fox Sports Arizona. Good evening from Chase Field. Welcome to the broadcast. Steve Berthiaume and Bob Brenly along the way. Game 2, D-backs and Pirates in this 3-game series. And BB, you have seen as many games in this ballpark as anybody. Have you ever seen the ball fly out of here like it did last night?
Well, Greg Schulte's actually seen a few more than me, and both of us agree we've never seen anything quite like last night. Our staff meteorologist says it has everything to do with the weather conditions, the temperatures heating up, very low humidity. For whatever reason, that ball was jumping last night.
And as we mentioned, the roof and panels are closed right now, but we expect they'll be open up about 1 hour into game time. A little windy outside in downtown Phoenix, so they'll try and temper that a bit. And then when the sun sets, the roof and panels should open up. Ruby De La Rosa on the mound. You think we'll see tonight Ruby the starter or Ruby the reliever, because there's been a difference?
Yeah, definitely a difference. As a starter, he tends to try to pace himself. He loses focus from time to time, and subsequently a lot of short outings. He's pitched out of the bullpen 3 times, and Chip Hale and Mike Butcher really like what they've seen as a reliever from Ruby.
Why do you think that makes a difference?
No monitoring. You don't have to worry about what am I going to do in the 4th inning, what am I going to do in the 5th inning, what am I going to do the 2nd and 3rd time through a lineup. You just go out there and flame on out of the bullpen. Ruby's very effective in that role. And because they want him to do that as a starting pitcher, there's a chance it'll be a short outing. So once again, the Diamondbacks were forced to make a roster move in that bullpen.
There's pitching coach Mike Butcher. Enrique Burgos is in the bullpen, up from AAA Reno. Silvino Bracho, who has struggled twice in his 2 big league outings, was optioned down to the minor leagues. Jake Lamb was the star of the road trip, and he's back in the lineup tonight. Sat out last night against the lefty, but he's back in there tonight and batting in the 2-hole, which has really seemed to drive this offense.
No question about it. Jake Lamb is one of the few hitters in this Diamondbacks lineup that will take a base on balls. He'll work some deep counts. With Jake Lamb and Goldie hitting back-to-back in the lineup, hopefully it'll run up a pitch count on Nicasio.
Ruby De La Rosa for the Diamondbacks. Juan Nicasio for the Pirates. First pitch is coming up about 7.5 minutes away. It's Diamondbacks baseball on Fox Sports Arizona. Back with more right after this. Arizona Diamondbacks baseball on Fox Sports Arizona is brought to you by CenturyLink. Switch to CenturyLink Prism TV for an advanced TV experience. Learn more at cprismtv.com. By Jack in the Box. Taste the all-new Double Jack Burger today, only at Jack in the Box. By T-Mobile. Get major league coverage. T-Mobile has doubled its 4G LTE in the last year. And by your Valley Honda dealers, where you get more standard features for less money. on Fox Sports Arizona is brought to you by Chaz Roberts Air Conditioning and Plumbing. Choose Chaz. By Lone Butte Casino. You're in for more winning moments at Lone Butte Casino. And by Cox Gigablast. How will you live the gig life? At home in the Valley, Ruby De La Rosa and Chris Herman the battery tonight for the Diamondbacks. Game 2 of 3 against the Pirates. First pitch from Chase Field is next. Set for baseball in downtown Phoenix. Roof and panels closed. We do expect they will open up about 1 hour into game time. A little windy in downtown Phoenix to start things off. The Diamondbacks and Clint Hurdle's Pittsburgh Pirates. His team does well in this ballpark, Bob. They've won 10 of their last 13 here.
Talking to a couple of Pirates players today, they're just glad to be out of PNC Park, where it's really tough to hit home runs to center and left field. Not so much here last night. Here's how Clint Hurdle will line them up. John Jaso at first base today. Andrew McCutchen out in center. David Freese at third base. Starling Marte in left field. Francisco Cervelli doing the catching. Gregory Polanco in right. Josh Harrison at second. Sean Rodriguez playing shortstop today, and right-hander Juan Nicasio on the mound.
Your Arizona Ford starting pitcher for the Diamondbacks. It's Ruby De La Rosa. A couple of relief appearances since his previous start, which came last Wednesday at Dodger Stadium. So, Bob, how might Ruby the reliever help Ruby the starter?
Well, hopefully he's learned from his experiences in the bullpen, and certainly it's been reinforced by his pitching coach Mike Butcher and his manager Chip Hale. Just go as hard as you can go, as long as you can go. Out of the bullpen, that's something you can do when you know you're only in the game to get 3 outs. As a starter, Ruby tends to try to massage his way through a lineup. They don't want to see that today. They want to see Ruby full flame on.
All right, on defense, brought to you by Nationwide Vision Center.
Tomas Owings and Peralta left to right across the outfield. Lamb, Ahmed, Segura, and Goldschmidt third to first across the infield. Chris Herman doing the catching with a righty on the mound for the Pirates, and Ruby De La Rosa on the mound.
Clint Fagan, our plate umpire tonight. We are set to go. John Jaso leads it off, and he is really rolling at the plate right now, hitting .368. One of the best leadoff hitters in the league to begin the year. He comes into this ball game holding an 11-game hitting streak. That's the longest streak in the league. One. Jaso's hit an 11 straight. He's got 18 hits over that span, and during the hitting streak is batting about .430. Plus he's got really crazy hair. You could pull that off, I think.
I wish I could pull that off. If I could, I would. Yeah, that's a look.
Drives it to center. Chris Owens runs it down, and he can't get there. It's going to roll to the wall, and Jaso will stop at second. Tomas is there to back it up. A good effort by CO, but Jaso found the gap in left center. Chris was among the Diamondbacks' busiest defenders last night, and he's back at it tonight.
We talked the other day about a ball hit to the opposite field off the bat of a left-hander, how it's always going to be a little shorter than you anticipate. That the rotation on the ball is going to cause it to sink as it gets out there in left, or in this case left center, and CO just misjudged it a little bit. Nice effort, but couldn't come up with the ball.
So Ruby in immediate trouble. Here's Andrew McCutchen. Diamondbacks overload the left-hand side of the infield. Segura, the second baseman, playing behind the bag. That's ball one. Lamb on the line at third. Nick Ahmed, the shortstop.
In the grand scheme of things, the way the ball was jumping last night and the way the Pirates were swinging the bats, it was a quiet night for Andrew McCutchen. He was 1 for 5. He did drive in a run with his single in the 7th inning, but otherwise a very quiet evening for their perennial all-star center fielder.
And a lot like Goldie, he's had something of a slow start. McCutchen 227 and 2 homers. Ruby wants Chris Herman to run through the signs one more time. Day game after a night game tomorrow, and there's another left-hand starter going for the Pirates. That's Francisco Liriano. So if you're wondering why no Wellington Castillo, if Welly has to sit out one of these 2 games here, might as well have him in there tomorrow against the lefty. So it's Herman back there tonight as McCutchen takes one of the ribs.
Third baseman, number 23.
Got him on the thigh there.
On the leg, yeah, it looked like a changeup that just slipped out of Ruby's hand before he wanted it to, and clips McCutchen on the outside of that left quad.
So 2 on, nobody out. For the heart of the order, David Freese, the third baseman, steps in. Freese hitting .290. Former St. Louis Cardinal and LA of Anaheim Angel of California. Jaso at second, McCutchen at first. Freese spent the last 2 years in Anaheim, hit just under .260 with the Angels. 24 homers over the last 2 years. He was, for the most part, able to stay healthy, which has not always been the case with David Freese. In there for a strike, 1-1.
With that double play ball here, Diamondbacks induced 3 double plays off the bat of Pirates hitters last night. That pushes their lead in Major League Baseball over the Angels 22-20. Grounding into double plays. We'd love one right here.
Looking for 2 quick outs if you can find them. This is hit a little too slowly to get 2. Lamb will settle for 1. Nice play there by Jake, charging in from third. And the runners move up. That's the first out.
While we have a moment here, let's take a look at our Valley Honda key to the game tonight. As you mentioned, no Wellington Castillo in the lineup tonight, so we've got no beef. What about some lamb?
I see what you did there.
Yeah, well. Of course, beef is available as a pinch hitter late, hopefully. Secret weapon.
Well, here's the guy that's got a beefy batting average against the Diamondbacks. He always seems to hurt Arizona. Starling Marte. 324 and 2 homers. He has a hit in every game he's played against the Diamondbacks in his career. Good start for Ruby, 0-1. Not only does Starling Marte begin tonight with a 7-game hitting streak, but he has doubled in 6 consecutive games. 1 for 4 last night. In there at 96, 0-2. This is where Ruby's got to trust his stuff. That has been the concern. If you can get him to throw his pitches with conviction, he can be very effective.
Yeah, he's a guy that can pitch himself out of a jam with the strikeout pitch. He can blow a fastball up there in the high 90s. His slider is really good when he keeps it down. His changeup has been off and on for him this season. But yeah, this is a situation where you're looking for a punch out.
Well, Hall of Famer Pedro Martinez, who has known Ruby for years, going back to their neighborhood in the Dominican Republic, has commented early this year that Ruby thinks too much, doesn't know how great his stuff really is. He's got to learn to trust it. Pedro wants him to be aggressive to home plate, throw that fastball. And that's what will happen when he's behind it. His first strikeout and a big out number 2 for Ruby.
Hard slider, starts on the outer third of the plate, just dips off the corner. That's a great location for a 2-strike slider. Looks like it's going to be in the zone. By the time you swing at it, it's out of the zone.
So Francisco Cervelli now, 2 on and 2 out. Cervelli in there at 327.
Here's another guy that had a relatively quiet night. He too had an RBI single in that 7th inning for the Pirates. But he also grounded into double plays twice.
That'll work.
Yeah.
Ruby getting ahead now with strike 1. Cervelli has hit safely in 6 straight. He's got 8 hits in his last 6 games. Boy, Ruby could get 3 quick outs here after putting the first 2 guys on. That would go a long way toward his confidence, you would think. Bouncer to shortstop. And Ahmed deals with McCutchen running from second to third, and Ruby De La Rosa gets 2 ground balls and a strikeout to end the threat. D-backs coming up. Set for the home half of the first, and your Arizona Ford starting pitcher for the Pirates is 29-year-old right-hander Juan Nicasio, the former Rockies starter who worked almost exclusively out of the Dodgers bullpen last season, and he won a job with the Pirates rotation after a very impressive spring.
Yeah, really good spring training for the right-hander. This season he's had one really good outing, first time out against the Cardinals, one not so good against the Tigers, second time out, and then a so-so outing against the Brewers. Pirates are still kind of waiting to see which Juan Nicasio will show up tonight. He's a fastball slider guy. You may remember he pitched out of the pen for the Dodgers last year. Big fastball in the upper 90s.
Gene Segura leading the major leagues in hits at the start of play today. He'll lead it off for the Diamondbacks. 356. He's got 3 home runs. And last night, Gene had his second consecutive 3-hit game. Missed away, 1-0. With the way he's hitting, Bob, is there a way to attack him now? Is there any location that's safe for the pitcher?
I think out of the strike zone would be the way to go if you're a pitcher. We know Gene Segura is a very aggressive hitter. He wants to swing that bat. He's had great success doing that. That aggressive approach has worked really well for him. And I guess the next thing you try to do as an opposing pitcher is not throw him a strike. See if you can get him to chase some bad pitches.
Well, they're working him down and away, down and away. Cervelli this time, though, sets up inside. And Segura fights it off. It's 1-2. Ken Rosenthal, great piece for FoxSports.com on Gene Segura earlier this week, said he got a text from a D-backs rival executive which said Segura looks unreal. Said the D-backs may have a great deal there. He has lowered his hands and is hitting rockets everywhere. And that has certainly been the case through the first 3 weeks of the year. There's a roller up the middle. Rodriguez at shortstop, and he can't get a grip. Segura's aboard. It was Jordy Mercer out there last night. He was terrific defensively for most of the ball game. It's Rodriguez who plays everywhere, and he had no play that time.
He just couldn't find the handle on the baseball right there. He reaches in, doesn't have a good grip, decides it's too late now to get Segura at first. Don't want to risk a bad throw, so he just hangs on to it. Segura credited with an infield hit.
Well, no beef tonight. How about some Lamb, and how about Jake Lamb? 3-10 and 2 homers. He's knocked in 10. Another guy who's lowered his hands and keeps that bat straight through the zone for much of the swing. Jake grounded out in a pinch hit appearance to end last night's game. That snapped a 5-game hitting streak. Segura at first. He's got 3 stolen bases on the year. He's been caught 1 time. I keep thinking that's Bronson Arroyo down there playing first base.
I was just thinking the same thing. Bronson had those cornrows for a season when he was in Boston.
John Jaso over there. They don't really shift for Jake Lamb, but there is a shade, as it were. Rodriguez, the shortstop, almost directly behind the second base bag. It still leaves lots of room on that left-hand side for Lamb, who does a very good job oftentimes going to left center. Knocks it down the left field line, headed for the corner. It's a foul ball. Sliced it foul.
Yeah, unfortunately, we talked about it on the first hit of the game for John Jaso. When a left-hander hits the ball that way, it's always going to have a little bit of side English, sometimes a lot of side English. That looked like it had a chance, but the spin on the ball takes it into foul territory in the D-backs bullpen. Home run distance, just a little foul.
Such a good left center field approach from Jake. Quick throw over there, and Segura just is back in time, says Marvin Hudson over there at first.
Well, occasionally you get a base stealer like Gene Segura taking his lead out there and peeking into the catcher, trying to pick a sign, see if they're going to throw an off-speed pitch or a delivery away. And you try to get a good jump and steal a base. I think they caught Gene peeking toward Francisco Cervelli that time on that pickoff attempt.
Segura holds it first. That is in there for strike 3. The lineup for Chip Hale's D-backs tonight as Goldie steps up.
Gene Segura on at first base already. Jake Lamb just went down on strikes. Paul Goldschmidt making his way to the plate right now. David Peralta out in right field. Tomas in left field. Nick Ahmed at short. Chris Owings in center. Chris Herman behind the plate. And Ruby De La Rosa on the mound.
Goldie 238. He's homered 3 times. Long set by Nicasio, and finally time is granted. You were saying the other day, I think it was last night, Bob, that Goldie seems to be going after more first pitches than we usually see.
Yeah, swinging at more first pitches and unfortunately chasing more bad pitches with 2 strikes. Just kind of searching for it right now. You know, even when Goldie is not swinging the bat the way we expect him to, he still gets on base via the walk. He still gets his base hits. They're just hitting a lot more ground balls lately. Maybe being a little more aggressive than we're used to seeing Paul Goldschmidt. Took a lot of extra BP today. Was really working on top hand, using the right hand. He's got a very unusual warm-up routine in the on-deck circle, a very abbreviated, kind of choppy swing, and I think maybe his right hand got a little less involved with the swing than he would like, so that's what he was working on early this afternoon.
Just essentially swinging the bat with one hand then, huh?
That's a drill that's common among hitting coaches. You have a small bat that's probably about half the size of the bat Goldie's using right now, and you go down in the cage and you work left hand only, and then right hand only, and then put it together with the regular bat.
There's Dave Magadan, the new hitting coach. Goldie had 2 balls and no strikes. Segura the runner at first. Three and 0.
Just take a little off and guide one up there, Juan.
Got a whole row of Goldies right there.
Yeah, we know Goldie hit his very first career 3-0 home run earlier this season.
Taking all the way. It's a 4-pitch walk to Goldie. Our Eye on Defense is brought to you by Nationwide Vision Centers. A little different look for Clint Hurdle's Pirates today.
3/4 of an Olympic relay team in the outfield. Marte in left, McCutchen in center, Polanco in right. It'll be David Freese and Sean Rodriguez on the left side. Josh Harrison, John Jaso on the right side. And Cisco Cervelli once again doing the catching for right-hander Juan Nicasio.
David Peralta back in the cleanup spot. 275. He got his first home run of the year last night. Went opposite field off a lefty. The Pirates' John Neese. There's the strike, 0-1. David, 2 hits last night, a home run and a double. He scored twice. And he has now reached base safely in 13 consecutive starts. Waves hit that one. He's down 0-2. This was Peralta last night.
I think it's the shoes. It's the white shoes. An opposite field home run in the ball game last night. Still looking for his first hit this season with runners in scoring position. 0 for 16.
Good spot for it right here. Segura at second and Goldie at first. Got him. Second strikeout for Nicasio. 2 down.
Nicasio last year for the Dodgers, pitching out of the bullpen, was throwing consistently in the high 90s. Maybe has throttled back a little bit, trying to conserve some pitches for later in the ballgame. He's been 92, 93 with that fastball, perhaps sacrificing velocity for a little more location.
Yasmani Tomas. Tomas 281. He's got 3 home runs. Once again, the Pirates go into something of a shift with the second baseman Josh Harrison on the shortstop side of the bag. They overload the left-hand side for Tomas.
kind of surprised by this pull shift. We've seen Yasmani hit a lot of balls through that right side of the infield.
Yeah. McCutchen in center is shaded toward the pool. He just rolls one through the second base opening there. It'll be 1-0 Diamondbacks. 2-0 now. Yasmani 1 for 5 last night, a single, and that extended his hitting streak to 8 games. Batting better than .350 during his 8-game streak.
Well, those are frustrating for a hitter. You kind of start your swing, but realize that pitch isn't even close to the strike zone, and unfortunately the pitch hits your bat as you're checking your swing.
Tied him up that time, 2-2.
The worst I ever saw of a batter trying to get out of the way of a pitch and the ball hits the bat was Willie Stargell of the Pittsburgh Pirates. So back in the day, somebody threw a fastball over his head and he ducked underneath it, but he left his bat sticking straight up in the air. The ball hit the bat, rolled right back to the mound. 1-3 put out at first.
Hang with him.
Pops was just standing in the batter's box laughing.
Tomas drives it to right. Polanco runs it down. And Juan Nicasio is out of a jam. Diamondbacks strand 2, no score at Chase Field.
Hey fans, want to remind you Tuesday's Diamondbacks game against the St. Louis Cardinals will be seen only on Fox Sports 1. The game starts at 6 o'clock, so catch all the action on FS1 or live on Fox Sports Go. That'll be Shelby Miller against Carlos Martinez.
4-game series for the Redbirds starting on Monday. Ruby De La Rosa set to start the top of the second against Gregory Polanco, who made a nice running catch there to win the bottom of the first and snuff out a D-backs threat. Polanco 298 and a home run. That home run he hit last night, his first of the year, high off the batter's eye in center field here. and was measured by StatCast at 460 feet, the 5th longest in baseball this year. It looked a little something like this.
Unfortunately, Patrick Corbin just couldn't locate his fastball in the early going. First 3 innings were really a struggle for Patrick, but then settled in and righted the ship and gave his team the chance to get back in it.
Polanco drives another one deep to center field. Chris Owings has it in a row. 4 in a row set down by Ruby. I thought Patrick did an outstanding job, Bob. At one point he retired 9 straight. And when you're starting a 10-game homestand, if you can get your starter in a game like that through 6 innings, it really saves the bullpen for the rest of the homestand, doesn't it?
Yeah, and he's been that guy in the rotation pretty much since his first start of the season, when Shelby Miller and Zach Greinke were struggling early in the season. Ruby De La Rosa was having trouble getting deep into the ball game. Patrick was the guy that would kind of give that bullpen a little bit of a day off.
Jake Lamb sets himself and fires. They retire Harrison. 2 outs here in the second.
I mentioned it last night. I mean, we all know Patrick Corbin has good stuff. He's been an all-star for crying out loud, but that was a real demonstration of what a future ace will do. Obviously didn't have his best stuff when he started the ball game, couldn't locate the fastball. None of his secondary pitches were really working for him, but he found a way to grit his teeth and stay out there long enough to give his team a chance to get back into the ball game. That's what future aces do.
Especially with Tyler Wagner, who's the long man back there, having pitched 5 innings the day before, so he was down for the night. Sean Rodriguez getting the start at shortstop. 6 hits in 14 at bats, including 2 homers. And he was part of the Pirate home run parade, a 2-run shot last night. His went .458 according to StatCast. That is the 6th longest in the major leagues this year.
Sean Rodriguez was the Pirate that told me they were just glad to be out of PNC, where the ball, if you hit it good, it actually might leave the ballpark.
Yeah, you go out to left center field. That's a big ballpark in Pittsburgh.
I think this one would have cleared, but
yeah.
Sean Rodriguez and a lot of these right-handed pull hitters in the Pirates lineup have lost a lot of extra base hits in that big gap in left center in Pittsburgh.
He's got that short porch in right with the 21-foot high fence, but left field and left center at PNC, you got to hit it to get it out. Hold on there, Sean. The count is full 3-2. Clint Fagan says strike 2. Ruby a strike away from a 1-2-3 second. Yikes. In the air, right field, Peralta at the track, at the wall, it's gone. Sean Rodriguez, his 3rd, his 2nd in 2 games, and it's 1-0 Pirates.
Predictable fastball count. Rodriguez, you see with the big leg kick, gets it started a little bit early and gets a barrel on it just over the fence out there and straight away right.
Juan Nicasio, the pitcher. Boy, Rodriguez last year hit 4 home runs for the season. He's already got 3 this year. And 2 in 2 games in this series. And Ruby falls behind on the pitcher, 2-0.
Not quite sure what to make of this, partner, but I'm going to throw it out there anyway.
All right. What do you got?
Diamondbacks pitching has let up more runs in innings 2, 3, and 4 than any other team in baseball. Their ERA in innings 2, 3, and 4 is .733. The rest of the ball game, it's .288.
Wow. That has been when the starters run into trouble. We saw that in the first homestand, the first time through the rotation. All right, 3-2 now. Back-to-back full counts for Ruby De La Rosa. He's worked it full on the pitcher following the Rodriguez homer. Bouncer to Segura from the outfield grass, and he throws him out. But Sean Rodriguez is homered again, and the Pirates have a 1-0 lead.
Nothing as we head to the bottom of the second. I'm Kate Longworth. Well, day in and day out, we see him do it all. But America's first baseman told me that he thinks one of the toughest jobs in baseball is coming off the bench. Goldie, very complimentary of the Diamondbacks reserve players, telling me that it is their type of play when they are called upon in the clutch and how they come out there and get the job done. That gutsy play is what inspires the rest of the team. And Bob, I imagine it's kind of a catch-22 as a manager, because you kind of have to do a juggling act with that much talent. But we know a dependable bench can be the difference maker in the end.
I think every manager would prefer to have an everyday lineup and then augment with your bench players from time to time. We've talked repeatedly about that 0-1 team. We just had a whole bunch of guys that could start and a whole bunch of guys that were old. So it worked out really well that we were able to get our bench guys in there and rest the so-called regulars. But a little bit tougher for Chip with the staff he has this year, with the roster he has this year, rather.
Nick Ahmed leading off the Diamondbacks second against Juan Nicasio. Nick at .217. He's homered 3 times. And a single in last night's series opener. Fouls off the bunt attempt, and it's 0-2. Clint Hurdle asked about Juan Nicasio and why they thought he'd be a good fit. Nobody, I imagine, thought he'd have the kind of spring that he did. He was outstanding in the Grapefruit League. But Hurdle said they've always known he's had good stuff, but when you repeat your delivery and you're able to work down in the zone, which he's been able to do, that leads to success. Oftentimes it's just not that complicated.
Keep it simple. Yeah, 15 spring training innings, only gave up 13 base hits, struck out 17. Battle here, 95 miles an hour. Nicasio starting to dial it up a little bit.
They thought he would be part of their bullpen like he was last year in LA, but he was just too good to leave out of the rotation. The Pirates had brought in former Giants starter Ryan Vogelsong to add to their mix, their starting pitcher mix, but Nicasio surprised everybody and beat Vogelsong out for a starter's job. Clint Hurdle said he had to tell Vogelsong, look, this is not about you not performing well. Vogelsong came in, did what they were hoping he would do, but it was about another guy really pitching the most effective they'd ever seen him pitch, and that was Nicasio. And so the Pirates felt obligated to then leverage that opportunity for Nicasio. And as Hurdle told Vogelsong, look, this is not a denial, it's a delay. You'll be in there eventually, we're pretty sure, because they don't think that Nicasio will pitch like he did this spring all year long. That seems unlikely.
Certainly a different style of pitcher. Nicasio more of a power guy with that fastball in the mid to upper 90s and the hard slider. And Ryan Vogelsong, we know, has to be nearly perfect to be effective. Sinking the ball, cutting the ball, throwing breaking pitches, off-speed deliveries. Vogelsong's command needs to be nearly perfect to be effective. Nicasio has the kind of stuff he can miss his spot and still get some swings and misses.
He missed with that one. Nick Ahmed works a leadoff walk.
Hey fans, when the D-backs win, you win at Papa John's. A day after every Diamondbacks win, you get 50% off your regular menu price online order at Papa John's. Enter promo code D-backs50 at papajohns.com.
Chris Owings now. CO at 277. He was on base twice last night, a triple and a walk, also stole a base and scored a run. And he has very good career numbers against Juan Nicasio, 5 for 11 with 3 RBIs.
Going to suggest perhaps Chip would think about playing hit and run here at the bottom of the order with Chris Owings at the plate, Nick Ahmed on first, Chris Herman in the on deck circle, and then the pitcher spot. You know, a lot of times you're not going to play a lot of games with the guys in the middle of your lineup. You're going to let them pick a pitch to swing at and try to do some damage. But when you get the leadoff man on for the bottom of the order, this is occasionally a time where you can push some buttons and try to open some holes in that defense.
And Dave McKay down there coaching at first is always raving about what type of base runner Nick Ahmed is and can be. Dave thinks he can be an exceptional base runner. So we'll see if they get him going here. There's a strike and CO's down 0-2.
We saw a double steal last night. Nick stealing third, Chris Owings stealing second base. You know, Joe Torre, they asked him the difference between managing in the National League and the American League, and he said in the American League you just let your guys swing the bat, but in the National League you feel like you have to do something before you get to the pitcher spot.
Makes it more interesting. In fact, that's one of the reasons is Owings looks at strike 3. Clint Fagan rings him up, third strikeout for Nicasio.
Cervelli clearly sets up half a body off that outside corner. He did catch the ball right in front of his body, but the front of his body was just off the outside corner.
And so was the pitch.
Yes.
Chris Herman getting the start at catcher tonight. Chris 1 for 20 to start the year with 7 strikeouts. And again, you've got a night game this evening, quick turnaround day game tomorrow, and there's a lefty going for the Pirates tomorrow, Francisco Liriano. So if you're thinking, well, Castillo will catch one of those games and Herman will catch the other, you have Wellington sit out tonight. That way he can get in there tomorrow against the lefty.
Makes all the sense in the world.
What have been your impressions of Chris Herman, the catcher, so far?
Well, obviously struggling offensively. Just hasn't made a lot of contact. Hasn't been much of a threat at all. Unfortunately, finds himself hitting in that 8-hole quite often. Defensively, he comes as advertised. He does a lot of things well. Strong throwing arm. Seems to handle the staff well when he's had opportunities to get behind the plate. But it sure would be nice for that bat to light up a little bit, give you another offensive threat from the left side of the plate on nights just like this. Tough right-hander on the mound. Give Wellington Castillo the night off and put Chris Herman in there and hope he can do something.
Herman hit 146 with the Twins last year, 2 home runs and just over 100 at bats. He's about a 180 career major league hitter, parts of 4 seasons, all in Minnesota. Coming up and in here. One of the reasons they started batting Nick Ahmed in the 9-hole, he's batting 6th tonight, is that if he was on base, he wouldn't be on there with a pitcher up, because as Chip Hale says, he's a very, very good base stealer. But they haven't put a play on yet. Nicasio misses there. It's 1-2. Dave McKay is saying over and over, Chip says, how many bases Nick could steal if it wasn't the pitcher batting when he's aboard as the runner at first base. That's not the case, at least so far through the 2nd inning, but Nick has stayed put. One and 2 on Herman. The pitcher Ruby De La Rosa on deck. Herman drives it to Polanco, right field, and it's off the base of the wall. Nick Ahmed being waved home. Here's the throw, and it is offline, and Herman is in there at third. There's that big hit you were looking for, BB.
Yeah, that ball was struck well. Well, we've seen Gregory Polanco already in the first game of this series make some outstanding defensive plays out there in right field. He couldn't do anything about this. Chris Herman will be credited with an RBI double. Takes third base on the throw to the plate. This ball was absolutely toasted. Meant to be inside, straight out over the plate, and Chris was all over it. Rips it off the base of the wall out there in right field. Polanco had some issues picking it up. That allowed Nick Ahmed enough time to get around and score.
Double and an RBI for Herman. There is no error on the board. He takes third on the throw. Infield in. Ruby De La Rosa up there now. One and one.
We saw in Yasmani Tomas's at bat tried to check his swing, and Nicasio actually hit his bat as he was checking his swing. Maybe he'll hit Ruby De La Rosa's bat. It's the best chance he has right here.
Squeak one through the infield somehow. With Herman at third and 1 out, tie ball game.
If he could swing late on one of those mid-90s fastballs and slap it by John Jaso down into that right field corner, that would work. Ooh.
To the mound. Ocasio looks Herman back at the bag and retires De La Rosa.
Segura with a big game yesterday. Another 3-hit night and some nice defensive plays, turning double plays. Mentioned 3 DPs in the game last night for the Diamondbacks. Dives to beat the pitcher over to the bag there. He was in the middle of everything last night.
His second consecutive 3-hit game, all singles, had an RBI. As part of that D-backs 8th inning comeback last night that just fell a run shy. Leading the major leagues in hits, he's 1 for 1 tonight. Segura already 9 multi-hit games in the 17 he's played this year. Talking about that lower hand position that Segura worked on all winter long, and says he feels like he's using his hands in the swing more, less of his body. And it's really worked out. There's a strike, 2-1.
Not sure if that was a backup slider or a changeup. Nicasio does have a changeup. He rarely throws it. He's almost exclusively fastball slider. Pitch to hit right there, put a good swing on it. Just underneath it. Just a center cut fastball for Gene Segura.
And Nicasio, that fastball will average about 95. It's a real power pitch for him, but when he starts mixing in more sliders, he can get a really effective. Missed away there. Full count, 3-2. Jake Lamb on deck. Ray Searage is the Pirates pitching coach. He said this spring they like Nicasio's strength. They like the resilience he showed with the Rockies, the perseverance, some of the things he fought through. A very serious neck injury, pitching at Coors Field. He's been through a lot. And he has what they consider a very high pitchability factor. Him up. Harrison coming in from second base. And Nicasio strands the runner at third, but Chris Herman, a big hit. The RBI double has tied it at 1. Here at the ballpark, an AJ Get Well Soon card available on concourse for fans to sign. Specialty one-of-a-kind AJ t-shirts on sale, a very limited edition in the team shop, and of course the first 20,000 folks in here tonight got the AJ Pollock bobblehead, and the author of that great catch in San Francisco and the hero of the day is with us here on Fox Sports Arizona. AJ, it's Steve and Bob. How are you?
I'm doing great. How you guys doing?
We're doing good. How's the elbow?
Elbow's doing great. Yeah, it feels awesome.
Well, yeah, I'm guessing it's stabilized, so can you feel anything in there at all?
No, I mean, honestly, the rehab's been going great. I'm shocked about how awesome it does feel at this point, so I'm very encouraged, and the rehab process has been great. I got great trainers that have been helping me out, and they've been keeping me busy.
Give the fans an idea of what the rehab process is. Where are you at right now? What are you able to do, and what's the next step?
Yeah, the beginning of this rehab process, mostly just range of motion stuff. Not too much strength with the the tricep and bicep. It's mostly just getting the movement back. But yeah, I've been able to do lower body lifts, and I've been lifting with my left arm, and there's a lot of good stuff I could do. I've been doing a lot of cardio, and that stuff is pretty actually good for actually promoting bone health and bone growth. So pretty much doing everything I can besides strengthening the those muscles around it. So that's going to come next, and yeah, it's been awesome.
AJ, it seemed like a fairly, I don't want to say harmless injury, but the way that it snapped there at home plate when you were just trying to push yourself up off the ground, it seemed like just a weird moment for that to go. Did you have a pre-existing condition? Have they talked about that with you? Did you sense that something might happen with the elbow the way things went for you this spring?
Not really. Obviously we took an x-ray, and the screw that I had put in 2010 was broken. Obviously you kind of have something in your head, and it's not comfortable when you think about your arm having a screw that's broken. But yeah. When we talked about it, we did MRI, we did CT scan, and that was just mostly just to show and see if there's any kind of movement around the break of the screw, and there wasn't. So who knows how long I was playing with it? I could have been playing with it for a year or 2 years, or who knows. But we rehabbed it to a point where that game I felt like I was game ready and ready for opening day, and just so happened to have that slide right there, and it went. So obviously when it goes easily like that, you think it might have happened regardless, and at some point throughout the year. So I feel good about what I have in there now, and it feels great. Like I said, it's obviously I broke my elbow, so I can't feel too great, but I'm really positive, and I feel great about where it's at right now, and it's looking up right now. So,
well, we know you've got an outstanding training staff and medical support staff here, and they do a phenomenal job. That's got to be a big help for you.
Absolutely, those guys are the best, and that's kind of how comfortable I felt after doing it. It was frustrating, a lot of emotions that first day, but after that, the guy doing my surgery, Dr. Sheridan, had full confidence in, and then obviously my training staff with Ken Crenshaw and his guys there are the best in the league in my opinion, and I've done rehab with them before, and they don't hold anything back, and that's what I love. And at the end of the day, we're doing everything that we can to help the bone heal, and to get my range of motion back and the strength back, and I know we're going to maximize the
second hit batter of the ball game for Ruby.
We'll try to shave off as much time as we can. So on the injury, and these guys are the best.
How does it make you feel that Dr. Sheridan had to go to Home Depot before they fixed your elbow? We've shown some shots of the apparatus that's in your elbow right now,
yeah.
And it looks like something you'd get in the hardware store.
I actually met with the guy who sells it, and it wasn't Home Depot, so it was a little more technical than it looked. But obviously you look at it, and it's a lot of hardware, but at the same time, I'm very confident that that's going to stick in my elbow, and that's going to be rock solid. So, yeah, I'm excited about it. Hopefully I'll be, not setting off those whatever you call them at the airport.
Metal detectors. Yeah, you have no chance flying commercial.
My whole right arm is made of metal. So.
Now, what is your review on the bobblehead? Because last year you were a Star Wars Jedi Knight. This year we got you playing baseball, sort of recreating that great catch at AT Park in San Francisco. Do you like the bobble this year?
Yeah, I think they did a great job with it. And last year they did a good job too. Obviously I wasn't, with a Star Wars, and I play baseball, so it's kind of tough answering all the questions about some, Star Wars, and coming in every day, and you're trying to focus on the game, and they want to know who your favorite character is, and so this time was pretty self-explanatory. It was cool how they did it with the catch, and they put a fence there, and I think they did a great job.
Now, your bobblehead got to make that entire last road trip. We took shots of him every day at different scenic overlooks.
I watched every single pitch, guys. Don't worry.
Yeah, he was a real pain in the neck, AJ. I tell you, he wanted to go to the beach. He's down the water. Oh, let me go up against the wall.
Of course, that's me.
Well, I think it's a great looking bobblehead, and now you got the new uniform on there too, and we got the T-shirts going here, a limited edition AJ Pollock T-shirt. This is kind of your day. What's it like to have a day at the ballpark like this? No,
it was awesome. They did a video beforehand. I mean, they did a great job. Feel very cared for here with the Diamondbacks. There's some great people here, and obviously I'm out here just supporting the team, so it's not about me, but bobblehead's cool. I gotta get out of the way.
Well, you got us 3 outs. Take care of that elbow, and we'll hopefully see you back real soon.
All right, guys, take care.
Thanks, AJ Pollock. Ruby De La Rosa out of a jam. It's 1-1.
Take a look at our moment in history brought to you by Geico. A couple of future Hall of Famers had their first career home run on this day. Ted Williams back in 1939 hit his first career home run, one of his 4 hits in that ball game. Hank Aaron in 1954 got his first career home run on the way to 755.
That's a remarkable coincidence.
How about that?
Teddy ball game and Hammer and Hank Aaron, their first hits on the same day. Speaking of hits, Ruby has hit 2 Pirates so far.
Yeah, and the Pirates are not shy about retaliating or beginning a beanball war. Hopefully nothing happens.
Jake Lamb leads off the 3rd against Juan Nicasio. He struck out looking his first time up. Bounce to Jaso, bobbles it, recovers. Nicasio's there in time. 1 pitch, 1 out. Jaso, when he was in the American League, which he's been his entire career, was pretty much a catcher and a DH. And he looked like that there.
Knock it down, throw him out. At least he didn't mess up his hair.
I'm not sure you can mess up that hair. Goldie walked in his first plate appearance.
I expected to look in the Pirates media guide and see that John Jaso had started a reggae band in the offseason, but I don't think so.
Bob Marley cover band or something. Oh, 0-2 on Goldie. who is 6 for 17 career against Nicasio, including a home run.
Coming in.
Got him, and he knew it. 4 strikeouts for Juan Nicasio.
Missed his spot by the width of the plate that time. Cervelli had called for a fastball in, probably to set up a breaking ball away on the 1-2 pitch, but instead Nicasio throws it on the outside corner. It's a called strike.
.50 pitches for Juan Nicasio as David Peralta steps up. Peralta struck out in his first at bat. And heard last night, BB, the crew here at Chase Field, they always do such a great job. Our audio and video technical staff for the DBTV board. They had their own David Peralta freight train sound effects loaded and ready last night. I think they were inspired by your train whistle.
How could they not be?
They had it going last night. We had the freight train sound effect, train tracks, train whistle going. David had a big night, a double and a home run. 3-2. But it all started with your little nickel whistle you got over there. Pulled out of the prop department in the garage.
I mean, it says right on it, train whistle, and there's a picture of a freight train.
Pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah. It's a finely tuned musical instrument at Cracker Barrel.
3-2. Peralta lifts it in the air. Way back and gone. His second, the freight train cruises around the bases, and it's 2-1 Diamondbacks.
Woo, did he put a charge on that one?
That's a jumbo jack.
Train's leaving the station and leaving the ballpark on this blast to right center field out near the ramtrucks.com pool area. A nice catch by a fan out there in the stands. We don't mind if the fans catch the ball. Just keep it away from Gregory Polanco. Nicely done, sir.
Very nice. Good job. Yasmani Tomas. He flied out in his first at bat. So Peralta last night homers off the lefty Jonathan Neese, and tonight the right-hander Juan Nicasio. Yasmani's feet got all tangled up that time. It's 0-2.
Yasmani and Chris Owings are the two hitters I notice that with the most, where they lose their toe hold on that back foot. It just kind of slides out behind them as they swing.
Bounce to third for Freeze. David Peralta, his second home run in as many games, and the Diamondbacks have a 2-1 lead. Promised roof and panels opening up as we start the 4th inning at Chase Field. Hey fans, tomorrow is Kids Sunday here. After the game, all kids can run the bases for Phoenix Children's Hospital, and during every game, kids of all ages can enjoy the Sandlot. Coach Sean Payton's up there. It's a family-friendly destination in the upper concourse here at the ballpark. There's a toddler playground, wiffle ball field, even a batting cage for the big kids. You can see all the great promotions for kids at dbacks.com/kids. That's a great area up there, and Sean and all the D-backs coaches do a tremendous job with the youngsters. Francisco Cervelli leads off the 4th, and we'll see how the ball game changes now. BB, you are all open for business here.
Yeah, roof and panels open. That noise you hear is pitchers sobbing.
You got to adjust all the cameras now too. That extra work for Mickey and those guys down here. Cervelli grounded out his first time up. .94 right by him, a ball and 2 strikes. Ruby has given up 2 hits, a Jaso double to lead off the ball game, and a Rodriguez homer with 2 outs in the 2nd. He has struck out 2 and hit 2 batters. Just missed at 96. He wanted it, but it's a full count, 3-2. Walked him. Are we seeing good Ruby tonight, bad Ruby tonight, a mix of both?
It's a little bit of a mix, although, you know, managed to keep the damage to 1 run so far. The solo home run by Sean Rodriguez. You just wonder what effect this has on a pitcher when, you know, you've been pitching the first 3 innings of the ball game. Roof closed, panels closed. You've been dealing a little bit, working your way through this dangerous Pirates lineup. All of a sudden, the wind starts blowing. Ball starts carrying a little better. Will you start nibbling? And certainly that's not what they want Ruby to do.
He doesn't need any more things to think about. Gregory Polanco. Polanco, who hit one .460 with everything open last night, flying out his first time up. Ruby has yo-yoed between the rotation and the bullpen. A very disappointing first start here against the Cubs. And then a promising quick fix inning in relief later in that series when he faced just 3 batters and struck out 2 of them. This is headed toward the left field corner. Yasmani Tomas is there. And look at Cervelli. He's all the way around second base, but he's back safely. Cervelli was halfway to third when Yasmani ran that one down on the warning track.
A nice running catch that time by Yasmani. That ball tailing away from him the whole time, but he keeps a beat on it way down there in that left field corner. Cervelli thought it was going to get down for extra bases, has to reverse engines quickly. Unfortunately, Nick's throw back to first base a little bit offline.
Made sure to touch that bag on the way back. You have to do that. Yasmani Tomas. Nice catch out there. Here's Harrison, who grounded out his first time. I saw a thing on MLB Network that was talking about StatCast and Yasmani Tomas. I showed it to you. I'm like, have you seen this? Because they measure literally every step that every fielder takes on the field. And according to StatCast, in terms of route efficiency, who takes the best and most direct route to the fly balls in left field, Yasmani Tomas was number 1. Swing and a miss, 1-1. The most efficient route to the ball among all left fielders so far this year, and he did a good job to get to this one.
Oh yeah, ball's hit over his head and slicing away, but able to track it down and get the ball back in quickly, at least give his infielders a chance for a double play.
And most defensive metrics are somewhat subjective. There's always guys judging who would have caught that, who wouldn't have gotten to that ball, so forth. But with StatCast, it's all measured, every step, how fast they ran, how many steps they took, how direct was their path to the ball. And when you add all that up, Yasmani Tomas has been outstanding defensively. Two and two on Josh Harrison. I saw you down there talking with Harrison before the ball game.
Yeah. He played with my son Michael in the Cubs organization. They played together for a couple of different seasons. And I was talking to Josh, and there's a Diamondbacks connection here.
There is.
Yeah, Josh's brother Vince is the hitting coach for the Visalia Rawhide.
No kidding.
Yeah. His brother Vince went to the University of Kentucky, actually played with former third base coach and current Padre manager Andy Green at the University of Kentucky.
Yeah, Vince Harrison, who was the hitting coach for J.R. House at Single A Visalia. Roll Hyde shoots that one foul down the right field line.
Of course, I don't want to leave Brandon Webb out. He was a Wildcat too. Not sure if he was the same time as Andy Green. I think they were close. Oh, Webby, did you play with Andy Green? Yeah. Did you play with Vince Harrison? Yeah, baby.
2 and 2. Got him. 95 right by him. Third strikeout for Ruby De La Rosa.
Powers that fastball right by a pretty good fastball hitter right there.
Would that pitch right there in that count sort of indicate that maybe he does start to believe in his fastball and maybe he's starting to trust his stuff?
Well, you certainly hope so, because everybody else in baseball trusts his stuff. I think everybody but Ruby De La Rosa.
I think you might be right. Rodriguez homered in his first at bat. Took De La Rosa out to right field. There's the strike 0-1. He's off to a sensational start. He's got 7 hits in 15 at bats this year, 3 of them home runs. Now Ruby mixing it up nicely here. Second inning, Rodriguez on a 3-2 pitch. Goes Oppo.
Fastball down and out over the plate, but got the barrel on it just enough to sneak it over that right field fence. And an 0-2 hole this time, however.
That's going to get in the seats. Pirates still without their infielder Jung-Hoo Gong, who's recovering from left knee surgery, so they're mixing things up in the infield a bit.
Big out to get right here for Ruby De La Rosa. If he can retire Sean Rodriguez to end the inning, you'd have Juan Nicasio, the pitcher, leading it off in the 5th.
Cervelli is the runner at first. 2 outs, 0-2 on Sean Rodriguez. Got him. Ruby De La Rosa strands the leadoff walk. He's punched down 4 and he leads it 2-1. Hey fans, the Fox Sports Arizona Fan Express, presented by Cox Communications, is back and set to take you to a Diamondback game. Just stop by the Cox Solution Store in Phoenix on Bell Road, and you can enter for your chance to win 2 seats on the bus to the Diamondback game against the Rockies on April 30th. Registration ends Monday, so you better hurry. Visit foxsportsarizona.com. Bottom 4, roof and panels now opened up at Chase. We got a good ball game going here. D-backs lead at 2-1. Nick Ahmed will lead off the bottom of the 4th against Pittsburgh right-hander Juan Nicasio, the former Rocky and Dodger. Ahmed Owings Herman 6, 7, and 8 in the Arizona 4th. Nick walked and scored his first time up. D-backs have a Chris Herman double and a David Peralta home run for their 2 runs. Sean Rodriguez is homered for the solo Pittsburgh run. Nick down 0-2.
Oh, what a night here at the old ballpark. Man, we tell fans every year, this time of the year, early in the season, and then once again in September when the weather's ideal and the roof and panels is open. Highly encourage you to get out here and catch a game. It's absolutely perfect.
Just a gorgeous night to be here. Big crowd on hand. AJ Pollock bobblehead day today. Nick just does get a piece to stay alive. AJ seems like he's holding up pretty well. Didn't look too frustrated. I'm sure he is, but he's putting on a brave face certainly and doing all his rehab work.
Well, the last thing in the world you want to do, I mean, it's already been a huge blow to the ball club, the injury to AJ Pollock and his loss to the lineup. The last thing in the world you want to do is mope around the clubhouse and make it even worse. So carrying that good attitude, I'm sure he's working extremely hard on his rehab.
Yeah, a lot of D-backs fans turned out for this one tonight. This place is packed. Bouncer in the hole. Rodriguez charges. Jaso has it. A nice play by Sean Rodriguez for the first out in the bottom of the 4th.
Hey fans, the St. Louis Cardinals are rolling into Chase Field starting Monday for a 4-game series. Get to the game with a value pack that includes a lower level ticket, a Subway sandwich, and a Pepsi for just $25. For tickets, visit dbacks.com/value.
Chris Owings was rung up on a called 3rd strike by plate umpire Clint Fagan. That was well, it wasn't a strike.
No.
CO has hit safely in 5 of his last 6. On base twice last night, a triple and a walk. Two and one.
Boy, Cervelli really trying to buy strikes for his pitcher out there. He's not only jerking balls back toward the zone, but then he holds them there for 3 or 4 or 5 seconds.
I would think that would have a negative impact on your pitcher, wouldn't it, if you're making it too obvious?
Well, you would think so.
It's like it's a puppet show back there.
But you know, there are certain umpires that can be swayed a little more than others, and those guys that are adept at making those corner pitches look like they're on the corner. They'll buy you some strikes.
Harrison at second. I have always read that you want essentially a quiet glove back there if you're the catcher, don't you?
Yeah, as little movement as possible. Any movement that the catcher has in front of the umpire, especially back and forth, moving from the inside corner to the outside corner, and we see some catchers do that. It's distracting to the plate umpire. Back when I used to play, I don't know if guys do it much anymore, but the umpire, once you gave your sign and got into your position to receive the ball, a lot of umpires would lay their hand very gently on your back, and they would feel you move maybe off the corner, and then they would know, hey, if he catches that ball right in front of his body, it's still off the plate. I had suspected for years that a lot of them called balls and strikes by feel rather than sight. Look out.
Chris Herman, a big RBI double in his first at bat tonight. He smashed one to right field. That scored Nick Ahmed all the way from first after a leadoff walk. Chris's second hit this year.
Swing.
What'd you like about that swing?
Oh, he was right on it. I mean, the timing was perfect. The bat was right where it needed to be. Fouled that ball straight back into the Pirates catcher that time. You see Cervelli way off the outside corner. Sometimes all it takes is one line drive. Square it up one time just to know what the perfect timing feels like.
Well, he certainly did that on his double in the second. Laced it off the base of the wall in right field.
You go 0 for 15 or 0 for 20 or 1 for 25, and it's been so long since you've hit a ball hard, you kind of forget what it feels like.
Full count, 3-2. Ruby De La Rosa, the pitcher, is on deck. Ruby looks like he's taking a page from the Goldie book. He's got his foot up against that rail there in the on deck circle.
Not a bad guy to emulate.
I wouldn't think so.
But I think that's probably where the similarity ends.
Yeah. All right, good at bat there for Chris Herman. 2-out walk, and the Diamondbacks will at least clear the pitcher spot here in the fourth.
That's key.
Third walk issued by Juan Nicasio. Nicasio, of course, a longtime Colorado Rocky, and then last year with the Dodgers. He's seen plenty of the Diamondbacks. 17 career appearances against Arizona, including 7 starts. And he's not done all that well. His ERA versus the Diamondbacks is just under 6.5. But he's kept it a close ball game tonight despite 3 bases on balls, a double and a home run. He struck out 4. Behind on the pitcher, 3-0. Segura on deck. You absolutely have to take twice here, right?
Yeah, for me, it's definitely a take 2 situation, even if that means running the count full with 2 outs. Chris Herman will be on the move over there at first base, and should Ruby make some contact, put the ball in play, chance to do some damage. He looks like a hitter to this at bat. He's got his batting gloves on. He's got that glow in the dark lizard skin on the bat handle, a 2-tone bat. He's got an ankle guard on down below.
Got to dress the part.
Yeah. Ooh.
Swings at the 3-1. Full count, 3-2. So Herman will be off with a pitch from first. Chase will play behind the runner. Cervelli wants Jaso off the bag a little bit more than he was.
Yeah, full count, 2 outs. It's common practice to move that first baseman around behind the runner, give him a little bit more range, and to be quite honest, Ruby's more likely to hit the ball that way than he is to pull it.
There goes Herman. Ruby bounces it right by the base runner, but Harrison's there, collects it, and throws him out. Nicasio works around the 2-out walk. We are through 4. Diamondbacks lead the Pirates 2-1. There's Micah, who's here at the ball game for his 9th birthday, but the Diamondbacks helped arrange a special surprise. His dad, Micah, currently serving a tour of duty in the military. Hey, I'm right over here. Our Chaz Roberts air conditioning cool play of the game. Nicely done, everybody.
Really nice.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back Micah's dad, Technical Sergeant.
And there he is, father and son reunited at the ballpark. Got a good ball game going here, 5th inning, and the D-backs lead the Pirates 2-1. Ruby De La Rosa and Juan Nicasio. Nicasio will lead off the 5th inning. So far, Ruby has given up only 2 hits, a Jaso double in the 1st, a Rodriguez homer in the 2nd. He has walked 1 and struck out 4.
Well, the 1 walk is really a step in the right direction for Ruby De La Rosa. Take a look at some of his 4 strikeouts in this ball game today. Got Starling Marte to chase a slider out of the zone right there. Good pitch. Blew a fastball right by Josh Harrison. A slider that time to Sean Rodriguez. His stuff has been really crisp.
He has hit 2 batters, McCutcheon and Freeze, but he's mixing things up nicely too, it looks like. And the pitcher Nicasio leads off the Pirate 5th. Wanted to see Ruby attack the opposing hitters like he does when he's in his relief stints. We certainly saw that his first time out there out of the bullpen against the Cubs on the first homestand. Faced 3 batters, had 2 strikeouts. And it seemed like he took that mentality into his next start last week against the Dodgers. 3 runs, 5 hits in 4 2/3, and seemed to do a better job of attacking the hitters in that ball game. Going deep that night wasn't really the plan or the goal. It was more about an attitude adjustment and a new approach. Rely on that stuff. Trust it. Go on the offensive out there. And he took that idea into his last outing Monday in San Francisco when he again worked an inning of relief. Had 3 strikeouts, including Angel Pagan and Joe Panik. He's, I think, maintained for the most part that attitude here tonight.
It certainly looks like it. Well, you could almost compare it to a hitter. Danny Ozark, when he was one of our coaches on the Giants staff, I was in a dreadful funk once again. And Danny said, why don't you try to go to the plate and swing as hard as you can at the first 3 pitches you see. just for a couple of at-bats. Just get aggressive again. He says, you look like you're feeling for the ball. Looks like there's some indecision. Just go up there and swing as hard as you can at the first 3 pitches you see for a couple of at-bats. And, you know, at least it changed my mindset going into the batter's box.
What'd you do?
Yeah, probably 0 for 2, but I felt better.
High bouncer to Nick Ahmed. 4 in a row set down by Ruby.
Now, Danny Ozark had some unique ideas for how to snap guys out of a slump. If he felt you weren't getting through the ball, you know, we hear short to it, long through it. He would take me out on the field with a shopping cart full of bats and have me stand at home plate. And he said, I want you to take your stance, take your swing, and let the bat go and throw it right over the pitcher's mouth.
Wow.
Well, you know, the first one I kind of flipped it over into the third base on deck circle as that one's grounded to second. No problem for James Segura. Yeah, but gradually I worked my way back around until I threw about a dozen in a row right over the pitcher's mound. You know, finish out through it, get through it, get through it. Danny had unique ways of getting his point across. It didn't always work, but you know, it was different than just going to the cage and beating your brains in for hours. Try something different.
Andrew McCutchen has been hit by a pitch and grounded out. How's Ruby's tempo? That's a word I always hear the coaches use in terms of Ruby De La Rosa. They want to see a good tempo out there.
Well, it seems to be very good. Not wasting a lot of time between pitches. Just pumping strikes in there to Andrew McCutchen. This at bat. He never turns his back on his catcher. Right back up on that bump, ready to go.
Working quickly here. It's 2-2 now on McCutchen. Pirates have not had a base hit since the Rodriguez homer back in the second. Got him. Ruby De La Rosa. He's got 5 strikeouts. He has set down 6 in a row, and he holds a 2-1 lead. What's next brought to you by CenturyLink. Series finale here tomorrow afternoon. A couple of lefties going head to head. Francisco Liriano for the Pirates. Francisco, that's fun to say. And Robbie Ray, who looked so good his last time out for the Diamondbacks. That's a 1:10 first pitch. Diamondback Live pregame show comes your way at 12:30.
Well, depending on how Clint Hurdle lines them up tomorrow, you could have Francisco pitching to Francisco.
I like what you've done there. The all Francisco battery. Cervelli's back there tonight for Juan Nicasio. As Gene Segura leads it off, he has singled and popped up 1 for 2. Got those hands down there by the belt. Dave Magadan was talking about Segura's new stance with that lowering of the hands, which Gene worked on all off season, and Magadan waved off any credit whatsoever. He told Ken Rosenthal he showed up that way. I didn't do anything. He's lowered his hands and he's hitting rockets all over the field. Magadan never questioned it, just left him alone, and sometimes I guess that's the best coaching. It ain't broke.
Yeah.
1-2.
You know, we saw Jake Lamb go through some growing pains in spring training with his hands lowered this year. Slow start to spring training, wasn't quite catching up to fastballs, was fooled by some off-speed pitches, but with repeated at bats and a lot of time in the cage, he figured it out.
That one got Cervelli back there.
Yeah, thinking this is not a real good one. Like the inside of the right thigh there. Look how his right hand is just dangling out there. Man, that's how you get knuckles broken. It just missed his hand, but caught him flush on the inside of that right thigh.
Absolutely nailed him. I don't know how guys do this for 162 games. Obviously, they don't catch every one, but it's a long year, and this goes on a nightly basis.
Merit badges.
You're covered with them by the end of the year,
yeah.
I imagine.
Catcher walks into the shower after a ball game. He looks like he's been in a snowball fight with blue snowballs. Bruises on the inside of your thighs, upper body, toenails missing, fingers swollen up. He did catch a piece of his hand right there. Very, very lucky. That ball didn't catch him flush on that right hand.
I am amazed. You know, we're at a very technical age. Everything every player does is analyzed all the time, but I'm constantly amazed at how many guys have that other hand just out there exposed.
And with runners on base, it's common practice to get that throwing hand up there behind the glove so you can quickly make the exchange if you need to make a throw. But with nobody on base, you know, most catchers just drop that hand behind their back to protect it, make sure they don't get hit on their throwing hand. But you could clearly see Cervelli that time, and others in Major League Baseball, just allowing that right hand to dangle out there in foul ball territory.
1-2 count on Segura. Rodriguez at shortstop.
Hey fans, anytime the D-backs score 5 runs or more, Taco Bell is giving away 3 free tacos with the purchase of a large drink between 4 and 6 the following day at participating locations.
Jake Lamb 0 for 2. He has struck out and grounded out. We've talked about Segura's hands, and the obvious comparison from the other side of the plate is Jake Lamb, although he doesn't have him quite as low as Segura does. But it's a similar approach, it seems like. Two and one. Lamb looking for a longer swing through the hitting zone with those hands dropped down low. Instead of chopping down on the ball, it's a straight path through the hitting zone. Said he figured it out watching AJ Pollock.
There's a good shot of that bat handle that Jake has, that axe handle, if you will. The knob is kind of slanted, just like you would see on an axe handle.
Started using that, he said, this winter. It's a lot easier on his hand after hamate bone surgery. Foul ground for Freeman. That's the same model, actually, that Dustin Pedroia uses, Jake was telling us the other day. And there's the bottom of that. It doesn't have the round circular knob on the bottom, so there's nothing to dig into the hand.
I had a chance to pick one of them up down around the batting cage a couple days ago. It really does feel good. You know, for guys that like to get way down on the knob of the bat and really use some leverage, it's very comfortable to hold.
Goldie has walked and struck out. Yeah, he said he hated it at first, but he said the key is to forget about, don't think about it, forget about how it feels, just use it. And after a week or so, he really started to like it. Now he's all in.
Watch out. 2 outs in the inning, nobody on base. A couple of Pirates have already been hit. That's Jake Lamb's bat handle right there. And you got the Diamondbacks superstar player Paul Goldschmidt at the plate. First 2 deliveries way off the plate inside.
Andrew McCutchen was hit by a pitch in the first inning. David Freese was hit by a pitch up and in the third. We all know about the history between these 2 clubs in previous years. McCutchen got it in the leg, and then here's Freese in the third.
We mentioned it before. The Pirates are not shy about retaliating if they feel they've been wronged.
There is action in the Pirate bullpen. Nicasio at 95 pitches. Two and two. Came in a couple of times and then dropped 2 strikes in there. Diamondbacks' last hit was the Peralta homer with 2 outs in the third. Nicasio tonight has walked 3 and struck out 4. Two outs, 3 balls, 2 strikes. Not able to check. He strikes out Goldie for the 2nd time. Oh, hold on.
Oh, they checked
Marvin
down
Hudson.
First. Yeah, Marvin Hudson said no swing.
Yeah. Nicasio can't believe it. Nor can Cervelli. Here comes Clint Hurdle. Boy, he is hot. Marvin Hudson, the first base umpire. And Cervelli is going over there now and confronting the crew chief, second base umpire Bill Welke. Cervelli is steaming. And Welke's telling everybody to calm down. Clint Fagan will walk Cervelli back to the plate. 4th walk issued by Juan Nicasio. 2nd time he's walked Goldie. Here's a look.
Oh, looks like he was able to check.
So here's Peralta with Goldie at first and 2 outs. He homered his last time up. His 2nd home run in as many games. In the seats. So David has now reached base safely in 14 consecutive starts and in 18 of 19 games this year. Big crowd here at Chase Field. That's a great shot by our crew here. This place is packed.
Whole bunch of little leaguers in attendance tonight. They paraded around the field before the game. It took about a half an hour.
There's a bunch of them. Fly ball, left field. Marte has room. And he runs it down. So Nicasio strands the 2-out walk. We'll head to the 6th inning. Diamondbacks lead the Pirates 2-1.
with the 2-1 lead as we head to the 6th. I'm Kate Longworth. Well, the good, the D-backs swept the Giants in part to some heads-up running from Jake Lamb. He scored all the way from second in the series finale Thursday. But the bad and the ugly, well, his slide. As Jake tumbled over the plate, this video circulated throughout social media, and his team had a little fun with it. Jake tumbling around there. Lamb was able to laugh it off, but Chip Hale said he's been getting texts from his high school coaches, his college teammates, joking with him that he needs to bring out some pads, cardboard boxes, anything to teach Lamb proper sliding techniques. And Jake's brother, who coaches Little League back home in Washington, told his brother, "I always use you as an example." Now it's an example of what not to do.
Yeah, Lammer's going to have to wear that one for a while.
Rough crowd.
I'm just happy he didn't hurt himself. David Freese leads off the Pittsburgh 6th against Ruby De La Rosa. Bounced over the mound. Segura's got it. Plants and throws. And he got him. Gene Segura. What a play. Got a wow out of Ruby.
Wow is right. I thought he might plant his foot and try to make that jump throw, but instead he plants that right foot, and our Jimmy John's delivery of the game, a fastball from Gene Segura over to first base just in time to get David Freese. Wow, what a play.
7 straight retired by Ruby. Here's Starling Marte, who was struck out twice. I still remark, I think it's amazing how he said just before we started the year he wasn't comfortable down there at second base. He's been sensational defensively.
I think that's been the biggest surprise. I think we all felt that Gene Segura offensively had this in him.
Sure.
But defensively, moving to a new position, we thought maybe it'd take a little while into the season until he got comfortable.
Marte 0 for 3, 2 down. And it's not just the great plays. He's able to stop, plant, and make throws across his body. He's turned double plays very effectively.
Yeah, he and Nick Ahmed have really formed a nice bond out there in the middle infield. That's probably the biggest adjustment for Gene Segura, moving to the other side of the bag, is when you turn that double play, you really don't see the runner as you're taking the feed from the shortstop until you turn your head to make that throw to first base. And Gene has the ultimate trust that that Nick Ahmed's going to give him a good feed in a position where he can protect himself and get that relay throw off to first base.
Cervelli has got a 6-game hit streak on the line. He's grounded out and walked. We were talking about Gene Segura last night on the old Snake Talk radio show. The Governor and I, along with Mike Farron and the great Leo Gilmartin, and I think, Bob, that Segura has become their energy guy, especially in the leadoff spot and in the middle of the infield. He really does set the tone in terms of the energy that he puts out there, offensively and defensively, on the bases as well. And it's noticeable.
Yeah, and as always, I had you guys dialed up on my way home last night, and I think you're absolutely right. I mean, Gene Segura, after a couple of subpar seasons in Milwaukee, I think he views this as a fresh start here in Arizona.
As we had heard, you know, this guy, you got to kind of give him a kick in the pants every once in a while. He didn't hustle, didn't run out this ground ball, this and that, but we have seen nothing but 100% max effort from this guy, and the energy level has been through the roof. Ruby behind on Cervelli, 3-0. Bullpen is busy. Archimedes, Caminero. I noticed how you let me take that.
Yeah, absolutely.
3-1 pitch.
I couldn't get Jason Rogers last night, for crying out loud.
They just called him up. It wasn't your fault. That's one of the best names in baseball. Archimedes Caminero. There he is, warming up for the Pirate bullpen. Michael have names picked out for the Twins yet?
Yeah, they do, but I don't want to spill the beans. I'm going to let them.
I kind of like Archimedes Friendly myself.
Yeah, there you go. Has a nice ring to it.
Ruby De La Rosa has set down 9 straight Pirates. It's 2-1 Diamondbacks. can't watch the games on TV, you can now stream games live on your mobile device. Just go to your app store and download the free Fox Sports Go app. Log in and stream the D-backs wherever you go. The Fox Sports Go app for your mobile device. Great way to watch the ball game. Well, here he is, the former Miami Marlin. Pirates purchased him before last season, and he had a pretty good year last year. 73 appearances, 8 so far this season. It is the right-hander, Archimedes Caminero from the Dominican Republic. He's 28 years old.
Nearly as many walks as strikeouts. Make sure he throws something you want to hit.
Last year he went 5-1 out of their bullpen. 73 strikeouts in 74 innings. Not off to as good a start so far this year. First batter he'll face in the D-backs sixth is Yasmani Tomas, who's 0 for 2. Tomas has an 8-game hit streak on the line. 1 for 5 last night. Boy, it is such a nice night to be here. Nice and cool, very comfortable, everything open. Ballpark is full. Saturday night in downtown Phoenix.
Where would you rather be?
Just gorgeous here.
Absolutely.
Another one tomorrow afternoon. Series finale, a 1:10 first pitch. Robbie Ray and Francisco Liriano. Diamondback Live pregame show at 12:30.
I'm talking about making a pitcher throw you something you want to hit. I think that's going to be a huge key in tomorrow's ball game against Francisco Liriano. He's a guy that doesn't really like to throw strikes. If he can get you out of the strike zone, he may never throw a strike.
He'll try and get you to chase that big slider. Comes inside at 98, ties up Tomas. First strikeout for Archimedes Caminero. Tomas 0 for 3. Here's Ahmed. Diamondbacks' last hit was the Peralta homer in the third. Nick has walked and grounded out 0 for 1. He scored a run. Came in on Chris Herman's RBI double back in the second inning. That tied the game 1-1 after Sean Rodriguez homered. Diamondbacks then took the lead in the home half of the third on David Peralta's second home run this year. So far, Ruby De La Rosa has given up just 2 hits. He's walked 1, struck out 6. And the bullpen for the Diamondbacks still quiet. As I say that, the phone rings for Garvin Alston down there. 3-0 on Ahmed. Caminero throwing hard.
I think that's more a byproduct of the fact we're sneaking up on that pitcher spot, and if the Diamondbacks have a chance to tack on some runs, you probably see a pinch hitter for Ruby De La Rosa this time around. And just get that bullpen moving around a little bit down there, maybe start playing some catch and go right along with the inning.
Enrique Burgos is back there, called up today from AAA Reno. Silvino Bracho was optioned. Caminero misses at 97, a 1-out walk. Here's a look inside the Sanderson Ford bullpen. Now, this isn't technically warming up, is it, Tyler Clippard?
Yeah, just kind of playing a little catch, just, you know, break the adhesions, get some blood flow going out there in the bullpen. He's not fully warming up yet, just playing a little bit of catch. We'll see how the at-bat goes here to Chris Owings. If CO happens to jump ahead in the count, you may see Tyler Clippard start to throw a little more, a little harder.
Owings has struck out and grounded out. This in the air foul. And we talked earlier about how the Diamondbacks consider Nick Ahmed to be a very good base stealer. Still a 1-run ball game. Maybe put something on here. Try and get him into scoring position with 1 out. Owings, Herman, and then the pitcher's spot coming up.
And the fact that you're probably going to hit for that pitcher spot if you have a chance to score a run, now you're even more aggressive with base runners here at the bottom of the order. If you know you've got that pitcher spot coming up after Chris Herman, well, then you're a little more careful about when you try to steal, because you definitely want to clear that spot this inning if nothing else.
Pirates thinking the same thing. They'll keep Ahmed close over there. Nick holds it first. CO bounces it to short. Rodriguez for one. Harrison. CO gets up that line. They can't turn two. Well, now that he's a center fielder and he's already got 4 stolen bases as well, we're really seeing the value of Chris Owings' speed out there.
It looked like a pretty routine double play ball on a couple hops to the shortstop. Everybody handled the ball cleanly. Josh Harrison with a strong relay throw, but Chris beat that out easily at first base.
Sure did. Pirates looking into the dugout, but they won't challenge. So Owings at first, 2 outs for Chris Herman, who was doubled and walked. He drove in the Diamondback first run with an RBI double back in the 2nd inning off the base of the wall in right field. Chris had been 1 for 20 to start the year coming into the game tonight. And Ruby will come out in the on deck circle. He's got all his gear on, gloves and tape and footwear, everything. He looks the part.
I think about the only way he's going to take the at bat this time is if Chris Herman goes deep right here. Then you may let him hit for himself and go back out again.
Fly ball, left center field. McCutchen. Marte has it right in front of the warning track. Not quite enough. Chris Herman gave it a ride though. And we are through 6. It's 2-1 D-backs. Lead the Pirates 2-1. Hey fans, plan ahead. Get the kids to some upcoming Kids Sunday games. Kids Sundays are perfect for the family. They start at 1:10. Sunday, May 15th, kids can take home a youth T-ball set courtesy of MLB Play Ball. This year's back-to-school game, Sunday, July 17th. And be at Chase Field, take home. And our lovely model Michelle is here in our booth with this, the one-of-a-kind backpack featuring the new uniform, the teal color. That's courtesy of Smile Generation. Get your tickets at dbacks.com. Michelle modeling our kids backpack coming up. Nice job.
Very nice. Yeah, that's a must-have. That new with the teal on it.
Yeah.
The new snake logo and everything.
So that's Sunday, July 17th to get that one-of-a-kind backpack with the new D-backs teal. Get your tickets at dbacks.com. And thanks again, Michelle. Ruby De La Rosa is rolling along here. He's retired 9 straight Pirates. He's given up only 2 hits. One walk, he has struck out 6, and Gregory Polanco leads off the Pittsburgh 7th. We really had to talk her into that. She did not want to do that. You were great. Come on.
She does such a great job.
Yeah. Tyler Clippard still throwing in the Diamondback bullpen. Usually, Michelle, we have to get Dennis Lamb to do that. It's just not. It's not as good. I think Dennis Lamb may lose his sitcom that he ran all last year, the Dennis Lamb Show. Start the Michelle Show this year. Two and one. Be careful with Polanco. Hit one last night, 460. The fifth longest home run in baseball this year, off the batter's eye in center. This is a squibber. Ahmed big-handed, and the throw pulls Goldie off the bag. Polanco doesn't see it. And look at Chris Herman. BB back that play up. He's all the way in right field. Polanco's aboard to open up the seventh.
Boy, you see third basemen do this all the time, but rarely do you see a shortstop come in and try to make the barehanded play. Unfortunately, Polanco was going to beat it anyway, but Chris Herman down there to back it up. Goldie jumped on that ball quickly and wisely threw it to Ruby De La Rosa, who was over there covering first base on the overthrow, and go ahead and tag Polanco. Maybe he flinched or turned ever so slightly to his left, and he'd be called out if he did.
Well, Chip Hale wants Tyler Clippard. Ruby De La Rosa stepped up big time. 3 hits, 1 walk. He struck out 6, and he leaves leading 2-1. Pitching coach Mike Butcher. Looks like Bob Ruby really wanted to stay in there.
Well, I can't blame him. Boy, he threw the ball really well tonight. What a huge step in the right direction for Ruby De La Rosa. Only 3 hits, only walked 1 batter. He did plunk a couple of Pirates hitters, but really was in command from the very beginning of this game.
Yeah, that single by Polanco, the infield single to lead off the inning, the first hit that Ruby had given up since the Rodriguez homer back in the 2nd inning. And now with a career high 7 straight scoreless appearances to begin the year, it's the right-hander Tyler Clippard.
Boy, look at those numbers against the Pirates since 09. 21 games in 26 2/3 innings. He's punched out 27, walked 4 on 0.68 ERA.
Josh Harrison has grounded out and struck out 0 for 2. Polanco the tie run first and nobody out. And Tyler Clippard on tonight for his 497th career appearance as he closes in on 500. Picked up a win and a save on the last road trip. Polanco takes off the throw from Herman, and they got him. Chris Herman throws him out. cuts down the potential tying run at second base. One down in the 7th.
Oh, what a throw. Polanco had a good jump over there at first base against Tyler Clippard, but Chris Herman made up for it with a quick release and a strong, accurate throw right on the money. Look at that.
What a throw. That's perfect.
You just catch it and he's out.
A 1-0 count on Josh Harrison now. That's fouled away. Harrison, 3-hit night last night, including 2 doubles. And the hits for him have been coming in bunches lately. Nine multi-hit games this year. He's got a bunt down. Lamb was back, and Harrison's aboard. Using his head there.
Not easy to do on a big breaking ball like that, up shoulder high inside part of the plate, but somehow he managed to deaden it on that left side of the infield. Just checked up in the grass right there. No play for Jake Lamb.
John Rodriguez, who homered in the 2nd. This one deep to the left field corner. Tomas runs it down. Yasmani Tomas, and Harrison has to hustle back to first. Well, we talked about his route efficiency earlier in the ball game, and we just saw it again right there. I think Harrison was surprised that Yasmani was able to get to that baseball.
A long way once again to get into that left field corner. Play a couple steps into fair territory, get it back into the cutoff man quickly. You never know when you might be able to turn that into a double play. Harrison all the way around the bag at second. He retouches. Well, looks like he's trying to steal first.
Pitcher spot is up now, and the left-hand hitting Matt Joyce will hit for Archimedes Caminero. Joyce hitting .300 with 1 home run. Longtime Tampa Bay Ray. 2 outs, Harrison at first. Matt Joyce in his 9th season in the big leagues. He signed with the Pirates just as spring training was opening up. And for a long time was a very productive hitter for Joe Madden in Tampa Bay. He was there 6 seasons and at one point had 4 straight years of double-digit home runs with the Rays. Was an American League All-Star, in fact. But then was traded to Anaheim prior to last year, and he slumped badly with the Angels, who were desperately looking for a left-hand middle-of-the-order bat, and Joyce just couldn't find it there. He hit barely over $170 last year with 5 home runs. And now here he is, a Pirate. Harrison a perfect 4 for 4 in his stolen base attempts this year. He holds at first, that misses inside, and Clippard behind 2-0.
Josh Harrison very proud to have been inducted into the University of Cincinnati Hall of Fame this offseason.
Go Bearcats.
He played on the same college team with former D-back Tony Campana, who's now in the minor leagues with the Washington Nationals. That's 2 pretty fast guys at the top of your lineup for a college team.
Harrison holds, that misses. Clippard behind now, 3-0. You've got Jaso, the leadoff man, on deck. He has one of the Pirates' 3 hits tonight, or make it 4, pardon me. In fact, Jaso with his double in the first inning extended his hit streak now to 12 games. 3-0 on Matt Joyce. All 4.
Never a good time for base on balls in a one-run game, but especially here with 2 outs in the inning, that pushes Josh Harrison into scoring position. From first base, it was going to take an extra base hit to score him. And now a clean single into the outfield, chance for a tie ball game for the Pirates.
Jaso 1 for 3, the double in the first. A 12-game hitting streak with 19 hits over that span. There's a strike. Tyler gets ahead 0-1. This is a guy who can be tough on right-hand pitching. Hit .285 against right-handers last year with Tampa Bay. And has 37 career home runs. All but 1 has come against right-hand pitchers. He's a good fit for a DH platoon in the American League, where he's played his entire career up until this year. That one goes through Harmon, and the runners will move up. But it's strike 2 on Jaso. And now a single could give the Pirates the lead.
Just didn't get the glove all the way down to the dirt that time. Left just enough room underneath the webbing of that glove for that ball to sneak through the 5-hole all the way to the backstop.
2 big bases right there for Pittsburgh. Clippard ahead of Jaso, 0-2. In fact, Tyler Clippard walks the high wire, but he strands 2. And as we stretch at Chase Field, it's 2-1 Diamondbacks.
Hey fans, Tuesday's Diamondbacks game against the St. Louis Cardinals will be seen only on Fox Sports 1. The game starts at 6, so catch all the action on FS1 or live on Fox Sports Go.
We go to the home half of the 7th, and it's former Diamondback great A.J. Schugel. He was selected off waivers by the Mariners from the Diamondbacks last December, and then he was waived by Seattle. Pittsburgh picked him up in January. Now here he is, and so far so good for A.J. 4 games in a Bucco bullpen, a 1.42 ERA. Phil Gosselin will hit for the pitcher Tyler Clippard to lead off the Arizona 7th. Gosselin 292 with a homer. Struck out against Naftali Feliz in a pinch hit appearance last night. Shoots that one foul, and he's down 1-2. Fans follow the Diamondbacks baseball games live with the MLB.com at Bat app. Stay up to the moment at any moment with game day, live game video highlights, StatCast news, the whole thing. Download MLB.com at Bat, the #1 app for live baseball for your phone and tablet. Strike three, says Clint Fagan, one away. We press on. I admire your restraint. Segura 1 for 3.
I mean, you know, that's the thing. You know, we've come to accept that they're going to miss a few here or there, but these numbers go on the back of your baseball card. You know, there's no way he should have been called out on that pitch. But then a bat taken away from Phil Gosselin right there. His career average is going to drop a point. You know, it all adds up.
It's hard to argue. You make a pretty good case. Right to Rodriguez on the short hop. Recovers and throws him out. 2 down.
Nice job.
Hit it much harder than that. Unfortunately, right at the Pirates shortstop. Oh, it was hit so hard. I don't know if Rodriguez could have got out of the way if he wanted to. On the backhand there, just knocks it down. Because it was hit so hard, he still has time to get to Speedy Segura at first base.
So A.J. Schugel back at Chase Field, former D-back. 2 up, 2 down. He'll work to Jake Lamb, who's 0 for 3. Missed with that one, 1-0. He did not go. DJ Rayburn down there. 2 balls and no strikes. A.J. Schugel pitched collegiately at Central Arizona. 25th round pick by the Angels in the 2010 draft. He'll be 27 in June. 2-1.
Central Arizona has long been a real good feeding program for Division I schools, guys that maybe need a little more playing time or couldn't get into the school they wanted to initially. It's a great place to go, hone your skills, and then either get drafted and go into professional baseball or move on to a D1 school.
In there 2-2. Remember, there was a game early last year where AJ kind of had to go out there with the bullpen exhausted in a game that was a lost cause and just wear it for a few innings. So his numbers with the Diamondbacks last year in 5 games a little skewed. Goes to Harrison at second. AJ Schugel back in town. A 1-2-3 7th. 8th inning on the way. Diamondbacks lead it 2-1.
Tonight we are victorious.
Well, last night 15 runs and 28 hits between these two teams. A whole different story tonight. Our Gila River game summary. As we start the 8th inning, the Diamondbacks have a 2-1 lead over the Pirates, trying to even the series here, BB, at a game apiece.
Yeah, a lot of good things in the ball game tonight for the Diamondbacks, but I don't think anything bigger than Ruby De La Rosa's performance tonight as a starting pitcher. Went out there and used that reliever mentality, and it served him well.
Daniel Hudson, scoreless baseball in 6 of his 7 appearances this year, is on to work the 8th. Andrew McCutchen leads it off. McCutchen frees Marte 2, 3, and 4. So this is the now standard Clippard 7th, Hudson 8th, Ziegler 9th trio here. The numbers on Huddy, a 1.17 ERA. It's a bullpen ball game, 2-1 in the 8th. Is it critical for guys to have set roles? Because right now they're kind of locked in. Clippard 7th, Huddy 8th, Ziegler 9th.
Yeah, there's no question that's the formula when you have a close lead late. But you know, we talked to Chip, and he's got confidence that if Brad Ziegler needs a night off, Daniel Hudson can close. If both those guys are unavailable, Tyler Clippard is available to close. I think if he had his druthers, this is the order he would like to use them. You get Tyler Clippard with his straight over the top fastball, curveball, changeup combination, and Daniel Hudson coming in that 3/4 delivery, just throwing bullets, and then finish with Brad Ziegler and his submarine delivery. It's a nice combination to close out a ball game.
Huddy ahead 0-2. This is what you would ask for just about every time out. 6 very good innings out of Ruby De La Rosa, which sets you up for the back end trio here. Ruby walked 1, struck out 6, and gave up only 2 hits.
Well, it wouldn't surprise me at some point this season if you were facing maybe 2 of 3 or 3 of 3 left-handed hitters in the 9th inning to see Andrew Chafin possibly get a save opportunity depending on the condition of the bullpen.
Daniel Hudson strikes out McCutchen, 1 down. And Andrew Chafin is in fact warming up with the bullpen. Changeup.
Really good. Man, when a guy throws 98 miles an hour with a tailing fastball, any kind of an off-speed pitch, if it's around the strike zone, you're going to get a lot of swings and misses.
David Freese. Nick Ahmed on the backhand. The long throw right on the money. Are you kidding? Such an awkward throwing position. He's able to get that much on it, and it's a perfect strike to Goldie.
Yeah, we talk to the visiting broadcasters when they come to town. They ask about the Diamondbacks, what's going on, and one of the first things I always tell them is wait till you watch Nick Ahmed play defense. We get a little bit spoiled, but he does this every night.
Well, there was a tweet after the ball game last night from Brad Ziegler, who said, don't get a lot of national press in Arizona, but anyone who isn't making an effort to watch Nick Ahmed play shortstop is missing out on one of the best ever. And that's from Brad Ziegler yesterday. And it's hard to argue. Marte 0 for 3 has struck out twice.
Nick has only made 1 error all season, and that was the one time he tried to get a little bit too quick in LA to initiate a double play. He threw wide to second base, and Gene Segura couldn't make the adjustment quickly enough, and the ball got by into right field. But other than that, he has been money out there at shortstop.
One of the 5 best offenders at any position in baseball last year, according to many of the defensive metrics. Nick Ahmed one more time. How about Daniel Hudson? A 1-2-3/8 inning through the heart of the Pirate order. Goldie leads off the home half when we come back.
With Paul Goldschmidt leading off the inning, let's make this quick. Brandon Webb on the postgame show. You saw something that indicated to you that Ruby De La Rosa was feeling good about the way he was pitching, right?
Absolutely. From the beginning on, you could tell there was something about his demeanor that he was excited to get the ball. Turned in a good 6 innings with the lead. We'll see how it ends up.
Just one of the nuggets we'll have for you, Steve and Bob, after this game is over. Diamondbacks Live. We'll see you then. Back to you.
Look forward to it, guys. Goldie leads off the home half of the 8th against former D-back A.J. Schugel. And he's got a base hit up the middle. Goldie aboard for the 3rd time tonight. A walk and a single. 2 walks and a single, pardon me. And the leadoff man's on here in the 8th.
Hey fans, we invite you to play Kachinko by signing up at one of the many interactive kiosks right here at Chase Field during any Diamondbacks regular season home game.
Well, David Peralta's at bat in the 3rd inning has been the difference tonight. His 2nd home run of the year, is 2nd in as many games, in fact. And in fact, Peralta's homer had been the last Diamondback hit up until that Goldie single. Four hits apiece. D-backs lead it 2-1, which is amazing when you consider we saw these two combined for 15 runs on 28 hits last night. Tonight, 3 runs on 8 hits. Carve this one high in the air to left, Starling Marte. Goldie will hold at first. Peralta 1 for 4. Here's Yasmani Tomas.
A nice base running play by the Goldie. Even though he didn't get to advance, he saw that Marte was going to make the play out near the warning track, so he immediately went back to the bag and tagged up. The play's right in front of him. You run as hard as you can off the bag at first. If you see that throws on line, you just slam on the brakes and go back to first. If it's offline, you can advance into scoring position.
Trying to get a pad run across. Tomas has an 8-game hit streak on the line. He's 0 for 3. And it rolls into left. A base hit for Tomas. Make it 9 straight. First and second, 1 out.
To fight that one off, the Pirates are consistently pitching Tomas inside off the plate. broken his bat right there. You saw a toothpick fly off of that thing as he made contact, but gets it over the head of David Freese. He backs at first and second with 1 out.
And Nick Ahmed will be the hitter against A.J. Schugel. Nick tonight has walked twice and scored a run. He's 0 for 1. Base hit. Matt Williams will wave Goldie home. He will score, and it's 3-1 Diamondbacks. Three singles in the inning against A.J. Schugel.
As good as he is defensively and as much as his pitchers appreciate it, everybody wants to hit. Nick Ahmed, a couple of walks in the ball game tonight, now gets an RBI single into center field. That's a huge tack-on run.
Sure is. Nick Ahmed driving the bus. Ray Searage, the pitching coach. Pirates bullpen had been quiet. Things will get busy down there now. D-backs trying to send these fans home with a win. On A.J. Pollock bobblehead night, Rob Scahill, the right-hander, is up. Big crowd here tonight, nearly 33,000. Chris Owings will be the hitter. CO tonight 0 for 3. Tomas, the runner at second. Ahmed at first. 1 run in. Squares to bunt, takes a strike. 0-1. That'll bring Freese in from third.
Yeah, not a sacrifice attempt. Chris Owings is looking to bunt for a base hit right there. Freese a few steps behind the bag down there at third base.
Chris Herman on deck, pitcher spot after that. Brad Ziegler warming up in the Diamondback bullpen. Pirates in the 9th will have Cervelli, Polanco, and Harrison 5, 6, and 7. Ball 1. CO has hit safely in 5 of his last 6 games. Goes to third, and it goes through Freese. Here comes Tomas. Here's the throw, and he hit him. He scores. 4-1 Diamondbacks. It went through the third baseman, Freese. Marte picked it up in left, fired a strike that looked like it got Yasmani in the back shoulder.
Yasmani can fill up a baseline when he's running from third to home. Marte's throw tails right back into him, hits him on the back of the left arm. Cervelli has no play there. He's blocking home plate without the ball anyway.
Yeah. No clear path to the plate for Tomas there regardless.
And once again, great base running by the trail runners. Nick Ahmed ends up at third base. Chris Owings ends up at second base.
We'll see how they want to score that in a moment. Here's Chris Herman, who had an RBI double in the second. He's also walked tonight. 0-1. They're thinking it over. Infield creeping in for Pittsburgh. Ahmed at third, CO at second. Swing and a miss, 0-2.
Well, I'm all for a little home cooking, but it's hard to believe that's not an error on David Freese down there at third base.
Well, they had put one error up on the board. So I got Owings safe E5. Tomas scores. And Owings takes second on the throw. So E5 for Chris Owings. No RBI. Chris Herman battling here. Pitcher spot is up next. Ricky Weeks Jr. in the on-deck circle. Missed inside, 1-2. Boy, Chris has had some good at-bats tonight. Diamondbacks have made it a 2-run 8th inning, trying to tack on 2 more here. Still just 1 out. 1-2 on Chris Herman. Fly ball! Right field! There it goes! Goodbye! Herman's bat, 1 for 20 coming into the game tonight, has come alive.
Has it ever? Man, he smokes this ball down the right field line. As you mentioned just a moment ago, he's put together some good at bats. The more pitches you see, the better chance of getting something you can really handle. Look at Mark Grace, Dave Magadan. There's all those teammates fired up for Chris Herman.
It's turned into a 5-run Arizona 8th 7-1 ball game. A.J. Shugel's night will end here. Back after this.
Diamondbacks here in the 8th inning. Time to take a look at our Coors Light cold hard facts. The last 2 seasons, the Diamondbacks have not taken advantage of the home field. 7 games under 500 here at home. Has allowed 102 home runs in this ballpark. On the road, 3 games over. That's something that was hard for me to figure. You know, you should always have a better record at home. Even in losing seasons, you should have better numbers at home than you do on the road. But hopefully, the Diamondbacks turning that around this year.
New pitcher for the Pirates. I'm sorry, Bob. Right-hander Rob Scahill takes over.
We were just hoping there'd be some momentum from that road trip. Diamondbacks went 7-3 on that West Coast trip, and you hope they carried it right into this homestand.
Well, Brad Ziegler has had a seat now. The D-back bullpen. Enrique Burgos is up in front. As Weeks grounds out. Nice scoop by Jaso down there. So 7-1 ball game. You can give Brad an extra day of rest if you want. And Burgos, who was just called up from AAA Reno before the ball game today, might get some action here.
Get some tacos tomorrow. We know that. He got in town just in time.
You already got you your jumbo jack. The tacos are collected now. You get a win and we'll have the pizza.
Nice.
And we'll all be fat and happy to watch Game of Thrones tomorrow night. Valor Morgulis. Here's Segura. Segura's only got 1 hit tonight. He's slumping. I got to find out what happens to Jon Snow. I've been waiting for a long time now. I know you have as well.
With bated breath.
There's the strike.
I don't even know who Jon Snow is, but I know it's a big deal in that show.
Oh yeah, huge. You know nothing, Jon Snow.
So is Jon Snow a little like Colonel Klink? He knows nothing.
Jon Snow. That's true.
Know nothing.
Jon Snow is Lord Commander of the Night's Watch. He's about as the furthest thing you could get from Colonel Klink there is. There's big Enrique Burgos with Garvin Alston, the bullpen coach. Colonel Klink.
Hogan. There's probably not a lot of viewers tonight that even remember Hogan's Heroes.
I always wanted it when I was a kid to want to hang out in Hammelburg. Everything always happened in Hammelburg, right outside of Stalag 13 there. There's always something going down in Hammelburg.
Sneak out the escape hatch and go have a night on the town.
There, and every Hogan's Heroes had the same plot. They'd gather around and figure out, all right, now how are we going to pull this off? This is impossible. And then Hogan would go, well, we'll just get Colonel Klink to do it.
Yeah.
And then they would fool him, and that would be the end of the show. See you next week. Well, Segura strikes out, but the Diamondbacks get 5. Chris Herman already with an RBI double, tacks on a 3-run homer. And we'll head to the 9th up 7-1. 7-1 Diamondbacks. And fans, if you're looking for a cool way to spend Memorial Day weekend with your family, try air-conditioned Chase Field. That's the place to be. Get the D-backs pool bag on Saturday, May 28th. That's courtesy of Mattamy Homes. And on Memorial Day, Monday the 30th, pick up the D-backs barbecue apron, courtesy of IHOP. For tickets, visit dbacks.com, and we'll see you here Memorial Day weekend. Enrique Burgos recalled from AAA Reno today. Silvino Bracho optioned back to the minor leagues, and Burgos makes his 2016 debut. Very good numbers at times for the Diamondbacks last year, and it'll work to Francisco Cervelli, who leads off the Pittsburgh ninth. Burgos looked just dominant at times this spring, showing a new forkball that produced a lot of strikeouts for him. It was labeled a split finger pitch, and Dave Stewart, who knows about these things, was adamant it's not a split, it's a forkball. Is there that much of a difference?
I think it's just a matter of terminology. I think the forkball, the guy gets the baseball a little bit deeper into his fingers, and the fingers are spread a little wider around the baseball, whereas a split finger is just that. You just split your fastball grip a little bit, take off a little velocity.
I think he starts out with that grip too. That forkball grip, and then changes in the glove. Look at right there.
Right there.
Because before there was a split finger fastball, there was a forkball. That's more of an old school pitch, right?
Sure. I think there's a fear of some people to call it a split finger because it was rumored that it'll hurt your elbow, it'll hurt your elbow. Well, if you throw it wrong, it will. But guys that executed that pitch properly never had any kind of arm issues.
Burgos picked it up this spring. Chip Hale was calling it devastating during the Cactus League. It was seemingly making all the difference in the world for Enrique Burgos. He was just racking up the strikeouts this spring. But he's behind on Cervelli, 3 balls and a strike.
We went down there to Rio in 5 games, 5 innings pitched, did not allow a run.
3 hits in 5 innings. He struck out 5 but walked 4. Command has occasionally been a problem for Burgos. On one hop, Ahmed the backhander. One away. Yeah, Burgos this spring in the Cactus League worked just over 9 innings in 10 games. Gave up only 4 hits and had 14 strikeouts. Don't forget series finale tomorrow. Diamondback Live pregame show at 12:30. A matchup of left-handers, Robbie Ray for the D-backs and Francisco Liriano for the Pirates. Diamondback Live postgame show with Brandon Webb and Todd Walsh follows our ball game here. And I am told that they have booked a big-time guest for the pregame show tomorrow. Todd calling in all his favors as he does. He's got a big network of people. And Hall of Famer Tony La Russa, the chief baseball officer, will be on the Diamondback Live pregame show talking D-backs. Todd gets the biggies, man. He makes a call and it's done. I hear he may be replacing Michael Strahan on that Kelly show. I think he's up for that gig. Strahan apparently walked, and I think there's been a call put in. Live with Todd and Kelly.
There you go. Don't even need Kelly. There's live with Todd. That's enough.
Those covers got to hurry, and they just do get Gregory Polanco. Polanco wants him to challenge.
Wow. Very close. Burgos really breaking up his steps as he got close to first base there. Pitchers are taught to try to hit that bag if at all possible with your right foot, so you stay inside the baseline and avoid that runner that you know is coming right up your back. If you hit it with that left foot, sometimes you drift over into that baseline right in the path of the runner.
Josh Harrison, last man standing for the Pirates. D-backs with the win will improve to 10-9 on the year, get back over 500. Came into the ball game tonight a game and a half behind the Dodgers, who lead the NL West. LA leading the Rockies right now 4-1 at Coors. Giants are hosting the Marlins. San Francisco leads that game 5-2 in the 7th. Padres hosting the Cardinals. St. Louis leads that 5-2 in the 8th at Petco Park. Cardinals in for 4 starting on Monday. dbacks.com/tickets as the homestand continues. All next week, fans. 4 against the Cardinals, then 3 against the Rockies. dbacks.com/tickets. We'll see you here. 2-1. McDonough from the outfield grass. And the Diamondbacks are 7-1 winners. Well, Chip Hale's D-backs came into tonight only 2-6 at home to start the year, so they get a much-needed win with a roof open at Chase Field and a chance to win the series tomorrow.
Plenty of time to turn those home numbers around. Good start here tonight by Ruby De La Rosa. I can't stop talking about him. We didn't know what to expect from Ruby tonight. He's trying to change his mental approach to starting pitching, and I think it worked out just fine tonight.
And Ruby did a tremendous job. He got his 2nd win of the year. And let's start Diamondback Live postgame show. A lot to talk about here with Brandon Webb and Todd Walsh. Todd.
Steve, thank you very much.